Thought I'd have a look at a battery charger today. This is the LiitoKala NL4 battery charger, and this was sent in via Gearbest. I wanted to look at this because this has 9-volt battery charging. A lot of chargers don't. It also takes AA's and AAA cells. Pretty basic look. You have the LEDs at the front, and we'll just take a tour around the body just to show you. Contact points are spring loaded. You can see the ones above are for the AA's and below that the AAA's. And because the contact points are recessed on the other side, you can't insert the batteries the wrong way. I have to say the construction on this feels pretty solid. The plastics are good quality. On the right hand side we have the figure of 8 input, so universal voltage on this 100 to 240 volts. And on the underside this lists out the charging speed, which is half an amp or 500 milliamps for AA and AAA, and 50 milliamps for 9-volt. It's normal to get fairly slow charging for the 9-volt cells. Bit of ventilation as well, and you see the 4 plastic points there. It's also an input for a 12-volt barrel adapter on the back, but it does come shipped with that figure of 8 cable. This is about a metre long. This is the Euro plug on this, but it's a very common cable, and there's a USA one available as well, so it's easy to get hold of. Quick look at the manual. You don't really get a lot with this, just the charger, manual and the cable. It's very much aimed as a budget charger, so it just goes through some of the features and usual precautions. The English could certainly be a bit better, but it's certainly workable. Gives you information on the charging indication, and this is the technical parameters. You can see they're using a delta V on some of them, but it also has a maximum voltage cutoff as well. So we'll have a look later on to see how that does. Inserting the cells is no problem at all. You just have to push them down a bit firmly and they click into place. I'm just demonstrating now with 2 AAA's. So you can charge 2 of the AA's or AAA's and a 9-volt at the same time, or anything up to 4 if you're not charging a 9-volt battery. You can see here just inserting an AA cell. No problems with the fit. Quite solid case as well. Even the LED indicators on the front, which I'll just plug in now, they blink briefly just to show you when it's powered on. The covering on that isn't flimsy either, so the build on this is actually quite nice. Just going to put some cells in just to show you. Now initially you just get the 1 bar show up, and then it goes from the 1 and 2 flicks between the 2 when it's at a lower stage. Put the other AAA in. So even though you have 3, this gives you essentially a 2-stage indication, because it's a lower charge state. The first 2 will flash on and off. Now if you put the 9-volt cell in the middle, that has a separate LED which flashes when it's charging and it goes static when it's finished. Now just zoom in a bit closer so you can see them. Now obviously LCD would be more useful, but this is a budget charger. You can see now on the right hand side, on the left I've got the 1 and 2, and they've got 2 and 3 flashing. So you have sort of a 2-stage power indication. At the later stages of charging, the top 2 will be flashing. So even though you have 3, it gives you that indication, and then when it's finished charging, they just stay lit, all 3 of them. So what we're going to do now is test the termination. We're getting 1.5 just over on this, 1.499. These are fully charged and I've just taken them out immediately. 1.46 or 1.47, 1.47 again. So charging is good. We're looking between 1.45 and 1.5. For the 9-volt cell, this is 7 cells which make the 8.4 volts. And which should be looking for 10.15 to 10.5, and we're getting 10.36. So these are good charge rates off of this charger. Now what I'm going to do now is test a cell which has virtually 0 voltage in the charger. This is a Uniros one which has been lying around for a while. It's been used quite heavily. And you can see when I put this in the charger, nothing comes on. So you don't have 0 voltage activation on the NL4. Unfortunately, on a lot of chargers you don't. That's just one of the reasons that some people buy the activation charger. This is a low voltage EBL, which is under a volt, and that's charging okay. So the 0 volts, you'll need to be able to activate them with something else. I used the X-Star Dragon here to do that, but there are other chargers. And I also did the charging on it, but I could see that the battery was charging very quickly, so it was actually quite a poor cell, worn out, and I did a capacity test as well. So that's potentially one drawback, is you don't have the 0 volt activation, but probably not a problem for this particular type of charger in this price point. Now, I didn't find any problems with the heat either on the cells or on the unit. They can get a bit warm, but not hot. I never found them getting hot at all. Delta V usually does mean the cells warm up slightly more than a voltage termination. I did find that it did do a trickle charge sometimes on the cells, very low, about 40 milliamps, so it keeps them topped up, but not always. Sometimes it would actually just terminate, and it does that on the 9-volt cells as well. So, very simple charger, but it does work quite well. There's a couple of obvious advantages to a charger like this compared to something like this Energizer one, which I've had for a while, and the only reason I've got this is because it charges 9-volt batteries, and that's no other reason at all that I kept it. It's not the worst charger around, but you can see here the charging speeds are quite slow. 150 milliamps for the AAA, 360 for the AA's. The 9-volt is down to 30. So 9-volt cells do take a long time in most chargers anyway, looking at about a good 6-7 hours. The problem with this charger is when you put the cells in, it charges them, but it doesn't tell you when it's finished charging them. So the lights stay on this charger for around about 8.5 hours, and then the timer shuts it off. So you have no idea when the cells are fully charged. So what it does after it's reached its charge voltage, it trickle charges the cells. So it doesn't massively overcharge them. But that's really, really inconvenient when you compare it to something like this with the NL4. So you can immediately see the charge state of the cells and just take them out when you need to. So that's an obvious advantage compared to the Energizer. So this is a smart charger and the old charger there isn't. So certainly worth looking at in that regard. Price is very good as well. Certainly not the most advanced charger around, but this will do the job quite nicely, and that 9-volt cell charging could be quite useful as well. So I'm pretty happy with this. Overall, I'll give this the thumbs up. So if you're looking for a simple charger that does a decent job for the 3 battery types, this one's certainly worth checking out.